Chapter 30, Day 7, May 6th, 2010, by Justin Rosales. The next morning, I awoke and immediately did my breathing exercises. However, I didn't want to bother to record them this time because I didn't want to have any reason to force myself. Instead, I took my time and relaxed. I still hadn't seen the lights that Wim had talked about, nor did I break any time records, but I did feel much better when I was finished. I felt relaxed and peaceful. I didn't know if that's what was supposed to happen, but I accepted it for what it was. When I went downstairs, Marco and Wim were already up and talking to each other. I prepared myself a bowl of cereal and joined in on the conversation. "So what's the plan, Wim?" I asked. "Well, we're going to do things a bit differently than I had explained last night," he said. "Instead of doing the kilometer swim, we are just going to do 800 meters. Nice and easy. We'll take baby steps. If you can do 800 meters with no problem, then we'll go on to 1 kilometer. As for Marco, we decided that he's going to swim against the current with his whole body exposed. It will be good training for the both of you." "All right," I said. "Sounds like a good idea. When are we going?" "When you finish your cereal," he replied. While I finished my breakfast, Marco and Wim left the room to change into their bathing suits. When I was finished, I placed my bowl in the kitchen and ran upstairs to change too. 15 minutes later, we were standing in front of our familiar swimming spot. Wim and Marco had gone into the water to swim against the current. I was watching from above, holding Marco's camera. Marco seemed to be doing really well in the 9.8 degrees Celsius, 49.64 degrees Fahrenheit water. After 5 minutes of swimming against the current, Marco's face contorted into an interesting expression. It looked like determination. Wim also noticed the expression and began to say things I didn't understand. Later, I found out that he was actually reciting Sanskrit mantras from memory as a form of encouragement. It seemed to give Marco strength. He was able to last for another 5 minutes in the cold water. After Marco had swum into the edge and dried off, it was my turn. I dove into the water and treaded with Wim. When Marco told us that he was ready to walk along the river, Wim announced that it was time to swim our 800 meters. "Let's go," he yelled, and we began swimming. Once again, Wim pulled ahead of me and maintained a steady pace. I remembered his advice about not forcing and continued on at my own pace. Throughout the entire swim, my body remained warm and my breathing was relaxed. When I had reached the end of the 800 meters, my body was exhausted. In total, it took me about 16 minutes to swim 800 meters. There was nothing wrong with my body heat-wise. I was just physically exhausted. But other than that, I felt great. My fingers felt fine with no numbness at all. The same was true for my toes. As I emerged from the water, I remembered that my after-drop would come on quickly. Therefore, I asked Wim if we could jog back to the house in an attempt to suppress my after-drop. Sadly, it didn't work. My after-drop kicked in completely by the time we were halfway home, and my shivering, again, was uncontrollable. The after-drop lasted a total of 32 minutes. That is significantly more time than my last after-drop episode. But you must also consider that we added another 200 meters to the original swim. When all was said and done and I was warm again, I reflected on my achievement. I had seen substantial progress. I felt more comfortable while I was in the water. There had been no pain or discomfort. I realized that accepting the cold was working to my advantage. It gave me the ability to generate more heat to stay warm longer. When we got back to the house, Wim lit a fire. After talking for a bit, we realized that we were all pretty hungry. Wim suggested that we catch a taxi into town and eat at the pizzeria again. We would have taken the Jeep, but Conrad took it with him to go visit his cousin in Carpatch. 30 minutes later, we were being dropped off at the pizzeria in Lower Slosky. Apparently, the taxi driver was a friend of Caroline's and told Wim that he would be willing to pick us up again in a couple hours to take us back. He said that we didn't even have to pay him until he returned us home. We took him up on his offer and asked him to pick us up in 2 hours. We made our way to the restaurant and discussed other possible ways to promote the barefoot snow run in the winter. While we ate our pizzas, Wim told us about how happy he was to have us as friends. "I really think of you guys as family. Thank you for being here." After dinner, we made our way back to the taxi and rode back to timeout. It was about 9 p.m. by the time we arrived back at the house. I was still exhausted from the earlier swim. We spoke around the fire for a bit, but soon my eyelids were too heavy to keep them open. I said goodnight to Marco and Wim and went upstairs to my room. I quickly recorded the day's events in my journal and went promptly to bed.